It's pretty wild to think that a single all-nighter can make you as cognitively impaired as if you were legally drunk. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most powerful and honestly, one of the most misunderstood parts of our biology, sleep. And I want to be clear right from the start. This isn't about downtime. It's about a nightly superpower that literally upgrades your mind and body.
So let's just jump right in with a huge question. Why is a truly good night's sleep more effective than any pill or supplement you could possibly take for performance? Well, it's because sleep is anything but passive rest. It's an incredibly active, critical, and frankly, complex biological process. You can think of it like your brain's own personal pit crew, working all night to repair and fine-tune every single one of your body's systems for the race you're going to run tomorrow.
All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with the two big forces that control when you sleep. Then we'll break down your brain's incredible nightly mission stage by stage. We'll also look at the really high costs of getting this wrong. And finally, the best part, we'll give you the actual user manual to start mastering your own sleep biology.
Okay, so first things first. To really get a handle on sleep, you have to understand that your urge to sleep is basically governed by a constant daily battle between two massive biological forces. Let's just call them the pressure and the clock. So let's break this down. On one side of the ring, you've got process S. That's the scientific term for the homeostatic sleep drive, but a much better way of thinking of it is just sleep pressure. It's kind of like hunger. The longer you go without it, the more you want it. So from the moment you wake up, this pressure starts building. And on the other side, you have process C, your circadian rhythm. This is your body's master internal clock. It runs on a roughly 24-hour cycle and tells you when to be alert and when to be sleepy, pretty much regardless of how much sleep pressure has built up. These two are in a constant tug-of-war all day long.
So what's actually building that sleep pressure? Well, it's a chemical called adenosine. See, every time your brain cells fire, they burn energy, and the molecule they use for that is called ATP. Adenosine is what's left over. It's the byproduct. And it just accumulates in your brain all day long. The more adenosine you have floating around, the sleepier you feel. Now here's where it gets really interesting. That morning cup of coffee? Caffeine is a master of disguise. It works because it fits perfectly into the adenosine receptors in your brain, blocking them. It doesn't get rid of the adenosine, not at all. It just, it puts a blindfold on your brain so it can't see how sleepy it is. And when that caffeine wears off, all that built-up pressure hits you like a tidal wave. That's the caffeine crash. The only way to actually get rid of adenosine is to sleep it off.
So, what happens when that adenosine pressure finally wins the battle against your internal clock? Well, your brain doesn't just shut down. Instead, it embarks on this highly structured, absolutely critical nightly mission. This is not one long, boring state of rest. It's a journey through a hidden and frankly beautiful architecture of distinct stages. The whole mission kicks off with stage N1. This is that really light, just drifting off phase. Your brainwaves are starting to slow down, you can be woken up by pretty much anything. And you know that weird feeling of falling or that sudden body twitch just as you're dozing off? That's called a hypnic jerk. And yep, it happens right here in stage N1. After that brief intro, you descend into stage N2. This is what we'd call established sleep, and it's where you'll spend about half of your entire night. Now, we often call it light sleep, but don't let that fool you. It is absolutely essential for things like motor skill learning, locking in the muscle memory for playing guitar or perfecting your golf swing. And inside this stage, two really incredible things are happening in your brain that are vital for memory. Okay, this is where it gets really cool. In N2 sleep, your brain produces two unique wave patterns. First, you've got sleep spindles. These are these short, powerful bursts of electrical activity, and we think they act like little couriers, taking memories from your brain's short-term inbox and filing them away into long-term storage. Then you have K complexes. These are huge, single waves that basically act as a shield, protecting you from being woken up by noises. So even in this light sleep, your brain is working hard, filing memories and protecting the whole operation. From N2, we drop down into the deepest, most physically restorative part of the night, stage N3, or what most of us just call deep sleep. Your brain is now churning out these big, powerful, low-frequency delta waves. It's incredibly hard to be woken up from this stage. And this is where the heavy lifting happens. Your body releases human growth hormone to repair muscles and tissues, and most importantly, your brain gives itself a deep clean. And this deep clean is one of the most incredible discoveries in sleep science. It's called the glymphatic system. What happens is your brain cells actually shrink by up to 60%, which opens up channels for cerebrospinal fluid to literally wash through your brain and flush out all the metabolic junk that built up while you were awake. This includes flushing out toxic proteins called amyloid beta plaques, and those are the plaques that are strongly linked to Alzheimer's disease. Getting enough deep sleep is literally like a power wash for your brain every single night. Now, after that deep clean, your brain doesn't just stay there. It ascends into this really bizarre and fascinating state, REM sleep for rapid eye movement. We call it paradoxical sleep for a reason. Your brain on an EEG looks exactly like it does when you're wide awake and alert. But, and this is key, your body is completely paralyzed. This is a safety mechanism called atonia, and it's a good thing because it stops you from physically acting out your vivid dreams. We think of REM as a form of overnight therapy. It helps process emotions, smooth the sharp edges off of difficult memories, and it's a hotbed for creativity. So, if you map out a whole night, it looks like this graph, which is called a hypnogram. As you can see, you don't just go into deep sleep and stay there all night. You actually cycle through these stages, down from light sleep into deep and then back up into REM about 4 to 6 times a night. And what's really important to notice is that you get most of your deep, physically restorative N3 sleep in the first half of the night, and most of your emotionally restorative REM sleep in the second half. Each cycle is critical. So now that we know how this is all supposed to work, what happens when that nightly mission gets cut short or disrupted over and over again? Well, the consequences are way more than just feeling a little tired. They are systemic, and they affect basically every single aspect of your health. Let's start with your metabolism. When you don't get enough sleep, it throws your hunger hormones completely out of whack. Ghrelin, which is the hormone that screams, "I'm hungry, feed me," goes way up. At the exact same time, leptin, the hormone that's supposed to say, "Hey, you're full, stop eating," just plummets. This creates a powerful, biological perfect storm that makes you crave high sugar, high fat foods and makes it almost impossible to feel full. 60%. Just look at that number for a second. 60%. What on earth could become 60% more reactive after just one bad night of sleep? It's your emotional brain. Your amygdala, which is the primitive emotional fight-or-flight center of your brain, becomes 60% more reactive. It's on a hair trigger. And to make matters worse, the logical, rational part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, loses its connection to the amygdala. It can't calm it down. So you basically have an emotional gas pedal that's stuck to the floor and the brakes have been cut. This is the real neurological reason we feel so anxious, irritable, and just emotionally out of control when we're exhausted. Okay, let's just bust a huge myth right now. The idea that a glass of wine or a nightcap helps you sleep. It just doesn't. Alcohol is a sedative, it is not a sleep aid. It might knock you out and make you lose consciousness, sure, but that is not the same as natural restorative sleep. What it actually does is it fragments your sleep all night long, and in particular, it is brutal at blocking that critical REM sleep we talked about. In sleep science, we have a term for this fragmentation. It's called WASO, which stands for Wake After Sleep Onset. It's a measure of the total time you spend awake after you've already fallen asleep for the night, and alcohol sends your WASO score through the roof. And even if you don't consciously remember waking up all those times, your brain is being pulled out of those deep and REM stages, which is exactly why you feel so rough and unrefreshed the next morning, no matter how many hours you were technically in bed. All right, enough of the doom and gloom. We know the problems. Let's pivot to the solutions. This is your actionable mission briefing. We're going to use everything we've just learned to give you some powerful tools to start mastering your own sleep biology tonight. Here's a really simple but incredibly powerful framework to remember. It's the 3-2-1 rule. 3 hours before bed, you're done eating. Digestion actually raises your core body temperature, which is the opposite of what you want for sleep. 2 hours before bed, you stop working. This lets your mind wind down and your stress hormones like cortisol to fall. And finally, 1 hour before bed, no more screens. The blue light from your phone or TV directly suppresses the release of melatonin, your brain's main "it's time for sleep" hormone. Okay, here's one of my favorite tips, and it sounds totally backwards at first. If you want to fall asleep faster and get deeper sleep, you should actually take a warm bath or shower before bed. Wait, warm? How could that possibly work? It's known as the paradox of warmth. See, for your brain to initiate sleep, your core body temperature needs to drop by a couple of degrees. When you take a warm bath, all the blood rushes to the surface of your skin. Then, when you get out, all that trapped heat radiates off your body very quickly, causing your inner core temperature to plummet.
And that rapid drop is a powerful, primal signal to your brain that says, okay, darkness has fallen, it's time for sleep.
So, as you can see, sleep is so much more than just closing your eyes for a few hours. It is an active, powerful, and totally non-negotiable biological requirement. You literally have the user manual for your brain's nightly reset button right in front of you. The only question left is, how are you going to use it to rewrite your own sleep story, starting tonight?